Hey guys, good to see a bunch of you already in the chat, even though some of you must have kind of misunderstood what the time that YouTube shows kind of stand for, like whatever time you go live, because I mean, a bunch of people asked for like no sound like 5 minutes early, which is impressive. But yeah, good to see you guys. Good to see you guys. Plenty to go over. You're gonna go over stuff with me because I've been out all day, so I haven't really had the time to look at charts. One thing that I do see is like a pretty sizable bounce on Bitcoin, so we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the moves that I've made yesterday, and yeah, how to go forward. So that's gonna be good. It was a joke. Yeah, I know it was a joke. I know it was a joke, dude. Yeah, before we start, shout out to FTX for sponsoring the show. Their links are in the description if you want to check them out. They still do they used to be called Blockfolio, and they did portfolio tracking and like spot trading on your mobile phone. Now they're called FTX. Still do the same thing, still the same app. So if you want to check that out, check it out. And yeah, let's get this show started, shall we? Looking good, Don. Thank you. I don't know if you're like talking about me, which would be creepy, but I'll take it. So yesterday, right? This is something that I posted about yesterday. We were kind of here, and I was like, okay, this is resistance, right? This is daily resistance. It kind of looks shitty, and then it broke down. Now today, what we've actually had, and for people that kind of follow this channel for longer periods of time, kind of do see what this kind of setup, kind of how this setup was forming, right? And I mean, what usually happens with these is that you get a breakdown and a reclaim, and then you just go. In this case, kind of fucked up like that wick. I don't know if anyone kind of tried to take the setup and got stopped out by the wick, but I mean, crypto markets be crypto markets, right? But it immediately went up right back into the resistance that I initially risked off of. And yeah, given that's the case, right? And given we've kind of reclaimed this resistance here too, lower time frames don't actually look too bad. Now, the reason why I'm still cautious is the higher time frames. One, and I mean on BitMEX it's not as clear as in Coinbase, but one, we're kind of at resistance right here at like weekly resistance, and on the daily, still the same resistance that we've had yesterday. So as soon as we start closing above there, I think it's just gonna go. But as long as we're in that resistance, still makes sense to be a little bit cautious. But I'm not as opposed to being like bullish as I was yesterday. Yesterday was pretty obvious that it would go down. Today I'm not as certain. So make of that what you will. I don't hate longing this resistance is all I'm saying. As much as I did it yesterday. Longing resistance always sucks, but if you have to do it, I mean, this is like somewhat decent in comparison to a lot of other instances. And the reason for that is that I usually don't trust like immediate retests like this. If this was the weekend, like if today's candle happened on the weekend, that'd be a different story. Then I'd say fade it, but on Wednesday, I could see it be bullish. So that's Bitcoin. There's not that much to say about it. Like I said, above 50K, probably like very bullish. Below 40K, bearish. And I sold my altcoins because I expected 50K to either completely roll over or break up. And so far, neither has happened. Yesterday we kind of did break down, and the altcoins did what I kind of expected them to, which was bleed a shitload. But yeah, today it's pretty much been back to normal. So yeah, Hi Don, thanks for all the educational content. Learned a lot from you. Do you ever take volumes into account for your trading decisions? If so, what's the best place to look for the info? If you want to be looking at volume, do it on Coinbase, and then just do it like normally. You don't like, it's not really that complicated. I don't really use it much. I only ever look into it when friends of mine tell me that there's something weird going on, which happens rarely. But if it does happen, I look at it. But most of the time, I don't. Big bounce midweek, big drop end of week? Question mark. I'm not entirely sure. Like, I think we're at resistance right now. If that doesn't resolve in like a breakout to the upside, because given like the lower time frames, right? This is bullish momentum. I think what you could bet on is, as long as this holds, it makes sense to be like cautiously optimistic. If this breaks, it's just gonna chop. Is what I think. There's not really that good of a trading setup here, but like there was a pretty decent lower time frame setup here, where it's like you break resistance, you retest it, and then you go. It's just, it's all into daily resistance, so it's a little bit like, it's a little bit scary. Is it bearish that we're not pushing right through? Not necessarily, no. It can start, like the most bullish stuff starts going like this and then goes like this. And that's kind of how this is setting out. That's why, like, I mean, I'm glad to not be short, basically, because I think there's a good chance it breaks to the upside. It's just, it's resistance, so I don't want to deal with it. And if it breaks to the upside, and this is why I kind of positioned out of my altcoins, I think the altcoins are going to suffer. At least like the not like super trendy ones. Like there's a bunch that are getting shilled everywhere. They're going to go up, yes. But most of the ones that aren't. So there you go. If you break above 50K, how do you see Bitcoin dominance playing out? That's exactly what I meant. Like, I think it's like Bitcoin dominance is gonna go up if we break above 50K. Just makes sense to me. So there you go. That's Bitcoin. Like I said, above 50K, pretty damn bullish. Below 40K, pretty damn bearish. In between, you can do whatever you want to. It could range, it could do like anything really. With regards to ETH BTC actually has been struggling quite a bit, but it's still just going sideways. There's nothing in here. Like if you see this, like, I mean, you can position to the up or the downside if you want to. And then you just write that bet out. And I think that's okay to do. If you have strong conviction in either direction. But if you're just a trader that just cares about that doesn't really care about fundamentals too much and just cares about like the chart, this is as neutral as it gets. It's just ranging. It's making lower highs, but it's just like ranging, which means that ETHUSD is just gonna be reflected in the Bitcoin chart, and that's currently bearishly. Like you look at Bitcoin, that's a bearish retest right now. ETH, that's a bearish retest right now. If both of those invalidate the bearish retest, I think the market's gonna fly. But it's still like, this is still a resistance. It's just the reason why I'm like entertaining the thought of this breaking upwards so much is because you have like one test here, second test here, third and fourth test here, and now you're testing it again. Like at some point, if this isn't the last one, I mean, let's say this just goes down immediately tomorrow, that'd be different. But if it goes down tomorrow and then goes back up again, I think there's a good chance it breaks out. And I think like the reason why like I'm cautious, but I'm not like saying, okay, short this shit to the ground, is because, like I said, so many touches, super terrifying to just stand in front of that on the short side of things. Like if anything, like being long into it and then taking some off makes sense, and then re-establishing high up. Hey, remember to like the video. Appreciate it, Gabriel. I always forget to say it. Okay. Let me see. Are you all in with your spot backs already from lower? No. I talked about this before. I sold the last of my like long-term holding bags at 60K in this area. I sold some on the way up, and then the last ones like in the 60K range. And then I started trading with those funds basically in here, like traded this around a couple times, did like something like this where I just bought and then sold off again. And I've done that until here where I bought a bunch again, which I put into altcoins, and those altcoins I sold into like a bunch of USD and a bunch of Bitcoin in here. Long term, like holdbacks, I don't have any. I might reestablish if we kind of reclaim 50K, but honestly, like I don't really mind just trading this thing. It's been very, very nice to not be as concerned anymore about like price fluctuations. Just being able to sit there being like, okay, I got a good setup, I can buy, I can sell, has been much better for like me in my life than like just being exposed all the time. But that's just me personally. But I'm probably still like, I have a bunch of Bitcoin, not as much as I used to. But I'm not gonna pretend like I sold everything here and then bought back even more here, because that's not what happened. I sold everything here and then I bought back on like the 40K break, converted all of that basically into altcoins, made a bunch on that, and then converted some of those gains and some of that Bitcoin back into USD in the 50K range, and some of it back into like some of these altcoins back into Bitcoin and some of the altcoins back in USD. That's kind of how it played out. And now I'm just sitting here wondering where this is gonna go, same as you are. Not gonna pretend like I'm the trading god that sells every top and buys every bottom, because that's not true. Chad Don, you're pretty comfy this cycle. Yeah, I mean, my life's changed a lot, right? Back in 17, I was still considerably like reliant on making gains. And that changed over like this sideways bear market thing, because I traded that really nicely and got really lucky, made a bunch of money here. Not as much as others, but a bunch, and made a bunch of money down here. So I'm pretty comfy right now, and I don't really mind. Like, the one thing in my life is like the first priority is me being happy and me being relaxed. I don't have to push too hard anymore. Sometimes I get the feeling that I really want to do it again, and then I do it, but like most of the time I just want to chill. So yeah, that's Bitcoin. We talked about ETH, ETHUSD, like I said, still at resistance, more attractive high up. And then with regards to the altcoins, ADA has been insanely strong, almost back at all-time high levels against Bitcoin, which is insane. Sadly, no setup there. Like I've looked at this, tried to get like a good high time frame setup, impossible. Nothing really there. It's just like up only. The only like high time frame setup that I got basically was shorting here, buying back here. That's what like I still think I have this on TradingView, this trade. And then I bought, like, I think I bought once or twice in this range down here, but never took it too high. Which, I mean, I regret, because I could have taken that long-term setup. It is what it is. You're not going to nail every single one. But, like, ever since we hit that low, like, it's not been too clean trading-wise, besides maybe this retest. Especially up here, it's just been impossible to trade. And I'm not a big fan of ADA anyway, so I don't mind. But yeah, it's been insanely bullish. Just sadly nothing there, because people keep asking, like, what do you think of ADA? Like, I think ADA is pretty meh, but like the chart's been pretty insane. So just nothing like striking for me on that front. And XRP, I've traded this around a bunch. pretty happy with how I traded it so far. I nuked that basically when I posted about it back before this nuke on Bitcoin, which took, if you look at like the XRP BTC chart, which took XRP very, very low. And if the market stays up but XRP goes down, I'm gonna rebuy a bunch at $1 to like 90 cents again, which is the support down here. Like that's the support I'm fine with buying. Pre-risk defined setup again. Anything above there probably would kind of focus on Bitcoin, because like I said, Bitcoin's at resistance. If it nukes, altcoins are gonna die, and you saw that yesterday. Pretty much at the moment I tweeted, everything started dying, and yeah, that's just how it's gonna go. Bitcoin goes down too much, altcoins are gonna die even on the Bitcoin pair, and Bitcoin goes up, altcoins aren't gonna have too much of a fun time if it's too violent. Hey Dawn, I've been trading for a couple of months now, but why is scalping so hard? Do you guys really want to know? Like, I don't know if like how many new people are around. I can explain why it's so hard if you guys want to like have like a 5-minute reason why it's really hard. Let me know and I'll explain it. Any concerns for the graph or any consensus for the graph? It's been slacking off pretty hard. Probably a coin or something. Sorry, no. Yes, scalping info, please do go for it. Okay. Okay, the reason why, and I mean, this is gonna sound incredibly dumb, but it's pretty much the only reason why it's so hard. Let's say you trade on the 5-minute time frame. This is like, you have Bitcoin at like 50K down here, right? And then you have Bitcoin at 50K, like 50K dot 0. I mean, you could do whatever. Let's say this is the price, right? 50K to 50, like this is the range. And price goes like this. And you nail every single buy and you nail every single sell, right? You like nail this range from like for every bounce. And then you look at your balance and you notice you've done this trade a million times and you've gained, like, even let's say you did this on 50x leverage, right? And you make a bunch more than you have, and like, nah, this doesn't really work. But you get the point. Like, this is a few tiny percentage points, right? The reason why when you look at your balance, the balance is actually gonna be lower than what you started with is because if you market buy and market sell, you're gonna have to pay fees, right? So you could nail this entire thing and you're gonna be losing money no matter how good you trade, because the difference between these two prices doesn't cover your fee. The fee of getting into the trade and getting out of the trade. Now, that might seem obvious, right? You're like, okay, you shouldn't be trading like these small kind of price differentials. The problem is, like, let's say that the difference is like $100 at 50K, right? If you have to give up the majority of those, like of that move for fees, if you market buy and market sell, most of your edge is gone, right? Let's say most of the time, like this bounce is gonna, like, you make more money buying this bounce and then selling whatever, and it works out like 51% of the time, right? Like this kind of trade, you risk the same, your target is the same, whatever. You have like a 51% success rate or whatever, right? You're still gonna lose money. So you have to have like a significant edge to kind of make up for this. So the bigger the price movement is, let's say this goes to like 55, the bigger the price movement is, the less impactful those fees are going to be, because you're like paying $20 in fees or whatever, or the percentage, like 0. whatever the fees are on your platform, they're different on pretty much every single one. That's gonna matter less and less the bigger the movement gets, right? So if you trade a market that moves like big time, that moves from 50K to 55, you can market sell and market buy, and it's not gonna like diminish your edge too much. The problem is the lower the difference between your buying price and your selling price becomes, the harder those fees are gonna hit you. So what you do is you basically have to be like a trading god to kind of move on these time frames. And I know you can limit in and limit out, but the problem is that you also have slippage, right? So let's say you try to get in at 50K. If you buy up, it's gonna be, sometimes it slips to basically your target in this instance. Or you have slippage if you're wrong, right? Let's say your stop loss is 50K, and then someone else gets out with you, and then you lose $50, and then you're down way more than you originally planned, right? And that's gonna matter a whole lot if you're scalping, and it's gonna matter like very, very limited amount if you're trading higher time frames. So if you're trading the low time frames, you have to be really, really good at what you do. It has to be a quantifiable edge, and you're basically playing against the house. It's like playing slots. You're just gonna, like, most of the time, you're just gonna be sitting there with like a negative edge, and you're just gonna lose money over time. Now that obviously, if you find something that you can kind of take advantage of, there's sometimes something there that you can take advantage of, but it's really, really hard to find, because people that are really, really smart are looking at the same thing that you are looking at, and it's not going to stay around for long because other people are going to take advantage of it too. Now with the higher time frame moves, all of that doesn't matter like as much, and you can just kind of position yourself like you want to. So scalping is harder than normal trading because you fight the house basically, and the house is the exchange. They're really happy if you're trading like on the 1 minute time frame, because every time you execute a trade, they're gonna get some money from you. So there you go. Laughing my ass off at using the price range too. Yeah, I'm a fucking idiot. No, I've been golfing all day, and I've gotten like so much sun. Maybe you guys have noticed, but my brain's fried like so bad. But yeah, like I said, like if you trade this range, right, the fees are literally like 0% of your trade. It doesn't matter. It's whatever. But the more you zoom in, the more those fees, the more the slippage is gonna factor into everything you do, and the more you're gonna have to give up to the exchange. So it's basically, it's not you trading against someone, it's you trading against someone while the exchange takes money from both of you. And I mean, that's just pretty damn difficult to do. I hope that explains it. I mean, there's a bunch more reasons to it, but those are the most obvious ones. And still people seem to kind of miss it. People don't realize they're paying fees. And I've seen people stream on like Bybit and whatever, and then they market sell and market buy, and they capture like a $20 move, and then they're happy, and they don't realize that they're actually losing money. Even if you sell while your position is in profit, technically you still lose money. So my best recommendation is stick with the higher time frame stuff, because then you're not gonna be trading against the exchange, because those fees are pretty much meaningless at that point. Unless you're at a high enough volume tier to make the fees more negligible. The thing is with that, if you are at that tier, you're trading bigger size, and then slippage is gonna just eat that amount. So yeah, you're gonna pay less fees, but the slippage for entering and exiting is gonna be making up for that basically. So even in that instance, pretty difficult. So you sold off most of your altcoins and chilling with Bitcoin to see if it breaks resistance. I actually sold all of my altcoins. And I said that weeks ago when I saw like Dogecoin and like the garbage, basically moon, that I would do that. Like the moment I saw this weekly candle, I was like, I'm gonna sell in a couple days and just reevaluate later on. And that's still what my plan is. Whenever I see garbage start mooning, the market gets like on a timer for me, And if it doesn't do what I want it to in that time, I just get out and reevaluate later. Because I mean, there's no rush, right? There's gonna be good setups left and right. It's crypto, so you don't have to rush. You just have to kind of keep your wits about you. I can scalp with low time frames, with limit buy sell. Yeah, you can, but the bigger your size gets, the less you can do that. If you're trading with $100, you're gonna get filled. If you're trading with $100K for like a $50 or $100 move, it's gonna be more difficult. If you're trading with $1 million, you're gonna get fucked, because then your invalidation has to be far out and your target has to be further out, because it gets more and more difficult. And then if you trade with 10 million, yeah, you get the point. So the one advantage lower wallet sizes gives you is basically that you can take advantage of the ability to getting filled, right? If you're trading low time frame, if you're trying to build a balance trading low time frame, it's easier, much easier with a low balance than it is with a high balance. The problem is, and this is something I see a lot of people do, people run up their account trading low time frames with like $100 to like $10K, and then the game starts changing, right? And then you start getting less likely to be filled. You start getting into like bigger sizes, and then they start just losing it all. So gotta play the appropriate sizes for the appropriate time frame. And if you don't do that, you're gonna lose over time. Promise you that. Talking about slippage is a flex. I mean, it depends on what you trade, right? Some of these altcoins, it's not a flex. On Bitcoin, it is a flex, but then again, if your stop loss is where everyone else has their stop loss, it doesn't have to be big to get you fucked. So don't we trade with $90 here? Then, I mean, if you're trading with $90, try to find an edge, try to run your balance up, and then stop doing it the moment you get into like the six figures. Because I can, like, I know a lot of people that can run up low numbers into bigger ones, and it's easy to like 5x your $100 balance or 10x your $100 balance. If you just try it long enough, it just gets progressively harder the bigger your balance gets. So there you go. That's kind of my like long answer, whatever, for why trading lower time frames is so hard. It's just you're battling more than just the normal kind of counterparty that you trade against. You're also battling the exchange, and you're also betting slippage and that kind of stuff. Okay. Yeah, so with regards to XRP, I still like the setup. I want to buy back if I get to, if the market wipes out. If the market doesn't wipe out, if Bitcoin just keeps on going up, I think there's going to be a time where XRP BTC is going to take a shit. And so basically, my plan for XRP, don't tell anyone, we've had this, right? What I want to see is basically Bitcoin, like if Bitcoin moons, right? And this is a big if, but if Bitcoin moons, I want to see something like this. And then up. That's kind of my plan for XRP. I'm like, if Bitcoin moons, and like I said, that's a big if. But if it does, I think XRP BTC is going to take a shit. And then I can trade off of lower sats amount and trade higher. If Bitcoin fucks off and just kind of crashes, then it gets a little bit more difficult, because then like the 90-cent range is going to break on the USD pair, and that's going to look kind of meh. So I'm going to have to like play the Bitcoin pair on its own, and that's usually not something I want to do. Like when I try to buy altcoins is when the Bitcoin pair looks bullish and the USD pair looks bullish. In this case, I think only the Bitcoin pair would look bullish if Bitcoin vanishes. So, yep, there you go. Don, can you go through your low time frame entry and exit method when making a high time frame play? I mean, there's not that much to it. I see, like, I look at the 4 hour, for example, right? And so we can actually run through this real quick. So we have high time frame resistance here, right? At 50K. I know exactly that 50K is going to be interesting. And I know exactly that at that point, like if it goes to 50K, I want to be a seller, right? So I look at the daily, it starts closing at 50K. I'm like, okay, it's probably gonna get rejected at some point, but given it spent its time already here, right? It's gone sideways at this level on the closing basis. What is needed to push this further down is like a lower time frame liquidity grab or whatever you want to call it, right? So you go to low time frame and you see like this was the few days before. You see that and you're like, okay, I want to see if this pushes up, if it's going to show any sign of weakness, right? And you can either take like the push up above resistance already to kind of sell into, or preferably you're gonna wait for the weakness. And this is why like my tweet was so nicely timed yesterday, because I saw the weakness come in. I was like, okay, this is daily resistance. We already have like the liquidity grab above resistance. I want to be selling into that level, into that daily level, and then I see like a push up and I sell into it. As easy as that. Sometimes people fill me, sometimes I have to market sell. But that's kind of how I kind of make that trade happen. And it's the same thing with the weekly, right? I see something at weekly resistance or at weekly support, and then I kind of look at, okay, how do the lower time frames look down here? For example, with the weekly down here, I saw like, oh, this closed below the support level. And then I looked at the daily and I was like, okay, it closed below the support level. So if it really wanted to die down here, it should have kind of used this breakdown as a springboard to kind of push lower. It didn't do that. It reclaimed it. So I'm like, okay, the moment it reclaimed it, I questioned the higher time frame breakdown. And if that assumption is true, that the breakdown is false, I'm just going to position into like the nearest support, which was this, right? Which was this 31.5 level. And then I go even lower on the lower time frames in the 4 hour. And then I kind of see, okay, is there any support that I can kind of use to get an entry on? And yes, there was the breakdown level. And then you can kind of get a nice entry and then you can run it up. So that's how you go through the time frames. You see a weekly setup kind of form. You look at the lower time frames, you see, okay, how do I get in? How do I get into the position? And then you kind of use that to your advantage, kind of get a better entry than just like market buying, like support or resistance on the higher time frames. You just kind of have to go through some of them, see, okay, how are they playing together? And the best part about it is that if you get like a setup on the monthly at support, and then you oftentimes get a little bit lower setup on the weekly or on the daily at support, and then you get on the 4 hour, you get one last push, and then it usually, like let's say the monthly closes like this, it pushes lower into like a daily level or whatever, that closes like down here, monthly closes still far away, and then you get like a 4 hour move below that support, and it just catapults back upwards. And then nothing really bad happened because the next month is just like a giant wick to the downside. And you got like in at the wick. And that's basically how I get the low fills when I kind of look at the market, try to get as low as possible. And the best part about it is whenever you see like sentiment flip, whenever like you have like a high time frame move into support and then the low time frame move below it, and people are like, okay, the high time frame support is already broken, whereas I kind of expect, given that we had high time frame support, that this is just a liquidity grab before it kind of mean reverts back up, and then I can use that to my advantage to kind of get filled, kind of read sentiment. It works best on the bullish side of things. If you're kind of looking for an entry, sentiment usually kind of flips really hard while it's nuking, even more so when you have like a move below high time frame support. People just get ridiculously bearish every time, and then you can kind of see, okay, is this a genuine move, or is it just like, is it a fake move to kind of fuck people over? And I try to get in when people are getting fucked over on both sides of the trade. Would you say that the 4-hour chart is bearish right now? It's a daily resistance. I wouldn't necessarily say it's bearish. I would say like 4-hour chart is bearish if we lose this, which doesn't really help you much because then it's making new lows. But if we lose this, I think there's a good chance we go to like 44, if not 40K. Right now it's at resistance, but it's not bearish really. Like it broke down and then reclaimed it all. So technically this is support. If it loses that support, then yes, it's bearish. Until it loses that support, it's not necessarily. But like I said, we're at daily resistance, so be advised against going full ape into resistance. Okay, hope that helped. I mean, I don't necessarily talk about this stuff often because I usually talking about like specific entry triggers and whatever, it's just gonna fuck you over if you do it too much, because people are gonna like steal your entry and steal your liquidity. It happened before with fucking Dogecoin. But yeah, there you go. Good question, whoever asked it. Is that also the reason you don't include wicks when setting support resistances? Yeah, part of it. Because the wicks can do whatever the fuck they want to. The wicks can break support as long as the bodies don't go necessarily, like as long as the meat of the move doesn't go below support or above resistance. It can wick wherever it wants to. Like we could have a wick to like 100K right now because someone buys into an illiquid book and it doesn't really matter. It changes nothing. But if we start trading in the 70K range, then obviously that has an impact, and that is gonna be signified by like a close in that area. You either trade like that or you're on NFT ape. Yeah, I mean the NFT apes definitely have been out trading me, no doubt about it. I honestly, it's kind of weird. I have zero regrets and zero FOMO on the NFT side of things. I don't know how you guys how you handle it, but I legitimately don't give a fuck. It's not my market. Like it's legitimately like if a penny stock went 1000x, I don't give a shit. It can move up, down, whatever. I could not care less. I mean, I have a little bit. I have a bunch of NFTs, but nothing like major, and I don't really care where they go. I'd be happy to sell them higher, but like no sentimental kind of attachment to them. So yeah, that's Bitcoin. We talked about like a bunch of stuff. Someone asked about Bitcoin Cash. I actually sold my Bitcoin Cash. Like I made a tweet about selling my weak altcoins, and Bitcoin Cash was one of them. I thought that was pretty clear. Sold that a while ago, like way back. Because other altcoins did well, Bitcoin Cash didn't. That was actually one of the first ones I sold. And I sold my Bitcoin Cash for WeChain and a bunch of other things. And I sold my WeChain later for to kind of risk off a little bit into resistance on Bitcoin. But right now I don't have any altcoins. But there's a bunch of good setups still. I still like the WeChain setup. I still think that's pretty decent. I still like the XRP Bitcoin setup. I still like the XRP USD Bitcoin, XRP USD setup. Jesus fuck. It's just like I like it much better, like pretty much 0.9. Like I think that'd be a pretty damn good entry. If Bitcoin pulls back, I'll see if Bitcoin pulls back but doesn't completely go down. I think that's a really good kind of trade. Avalanche, yeah, I mean like that is way too high. I mean, too high doesn't really exist, but it's like, technically speaking for me, right? Like, there's nothing to do besides like positioning long on this, right? Let's say this pulls back, it goes back to support at like 39, and then closing that trade out if it starts losing that. The problem with that is like, it can easily close the next week, like 30% lower or whatever. But that's the risk you have to take with these kind of trades if you want to take them. I generally like, for like Avalanche, like that was a good USD level, but like technically speaking, like this was a really good USD level. But technically speaking, there wasn't really that much that kind of pulled my eyes towards it. This is more of a fundamental play. And I don't do those too much anymore. So like TA wise, if you're asking me where do you position yourself, I'm not even sure if I'm gonna like buy this. I'm down to like maybe buy it at 23 if it goes there. Not entirely sure. I might actually, like if it pulls back here, I might actually kind of position myself at 23. But in general, like if you're already in and you're bullish this thing, I think the best kind of invalidation is 40. If that doesn't hold, it goes to 23. And if that doesn't hold, it's just going to completely roll over. So logging anywhere close to like 38 to 40 seems like a good bet. It's quite a bit away from the next support. And if the market rolls over, you're not going to have much fun. But it's not a bearish chart. I would never try to short this or anything. Like if anything, you look for long setups. And we've seen how like these kind of platform plays play out. I mean, Matic went insane. BSC went insane. So I wouldn't want to fade it. It's just really hard to kind of get a good setup going. 38 is a decent one. I have to say, you and Cred are the best teachers of trading. Thank you, William. Appreciate that comment, mate. We try. I mean, yeah, with all my rambling about other stuff and unpreparedness, I still try to kind of make it into something decent. Thanks, Don. Learning why learnings are done. I don't understand what you mean, but assuming it's something good. With regards to other altcoins, I mean, we can go through layer ones. Uni actually was interesting because, I mean, you look at this, right? And what it's doing again is kind of trying to flip this from support, from resistance into support, right? So it was resistance, closed above it. Now it's retesting it as support. And I think as long as that holds, makes sense to be bullish. If it breaks, gotta be quick about getting out. So like with all of these, it's pretty much the exact same for almost all of the DeFi stuff. It's the exact same level every time. Bullish above, bearish below. And I'll actually look for some entries if the time is right again, if Bitcoin does what I want it to. Which right now, like my preferred way for Bitcoin to resolve would be down because the setups are nicer. But if it goes up, it's just gonna go completely mental, so I wouldn't mind it either. It's just, it's very, very difficult to trade right now in the 50K range. So I want it to go somewhere, and I want it to go like from 50 to like 70 or 80, or from 50 to like 40, 30 to 20, like that kind of stuff. Like I want a big move on Bitcoin, and then I want to get back into the altcoins if I can. And all of these charts are the exact same. If you haven't realized, like look at this. Wi-Fi, one of the weaker ones, right? Hasn't reclaimed that. But like all of these charts are the exact same thing. So it doesn't really matter which one of those you trade. You're trading the same thing. And this is something people don't realize when they're trading these things. Like this is basically like the same people are trading this. And how this is traded, right? Is like, let's say you have a big fund. You have like this amount of money and the coin can only take this much. So what you do is you split this up and put it into like the amount of money that you have, split it up and put it into like the coins you have or you want to have that are in the same direction. And then the charts look pretty much the exact same because it's just like a bunch of bigger guys spreading apart like their money. Because if you take this and then put it into something like a smaller cap coin, it's just gonna be really difficult to get out, and then you're at risk of getting like completely obliterated. You can't buy more if it dumps more. You can't really do much, right? But if you split it up and put it in several different coins, you have less problems with liquidity and all that kind of stuff. So that's why like all of these charts look the same. Do you still think this is more likely to be a complacency bounce than a rally to new highs? Yes. I think the more like the reasonable approach is assuming that we are either here or that we're here. But you're gonna have to flip on that relatively quickly if it starts being invalidated. And you don't even have to, like, even if you think this, I think this is the most reasonable thought to have. But I think even if you think that way, you don't have to execute on it because there's a really, really good bullish invalidation with 40K. So even if you think this is the complacency bounce, you don't have to actually position for it until we start losing 40K. And I know that means that you're gonna take a decently sized haircut, but it also means that if you're wrong, you're not gonna get completely fucked over and you're not gonna be sitting there struggling for an entry. But yeah, I think like the more likely scenario is that this is gonna start rounding out, like here, start rounding out and then roll over. Like I think that is way more likely, but if it doesn't do that, it's just gonna go vertical, and then how the fuck do you get in on something like that? And the answer is you don't. Like you can't really get into it really nicely. So it's basically choosing, okay, do I mind being exposed to Bitcoin at the complacency bounce and then just selling once the complacency bounce is confirmed, in favor of selling right now, but not being able to re-enter if it moons. And that's something that you have to figure out yourself, right? If you're like, okay, I'd much rather be in this if it straight up moons than I mind being in this if this is the complacency bounce, then you just position for that. For me personally, I would hate it more being in the complacency bounce than being in it if it moons. But the problem with that stance is that you're gonna get fucking crucified on Twitter for it. So I try to keep it to myself because I mean it's not gonna do me any favors if I talk about that. But like for me, I'd much rather keep my money and then just chase it upwards than the other way around. But I think like both sides are more than reasonable. How do you position your entry in weekly setups? I just talked about that earlier. We love bear Don. I mean, I'm not necessarily mega bear. I'm not even short. I bought some options to hedge, which, I mean, I'm probably gonna expire worthless. But I mean, just for the lulz, not even gonna like not big, just way out, way out, just to kind of hedge. But yeah, other than that, I don't have anything on the short side of things. Are you still holding WeChain? Nope, sold that. But I still don't mind the setup. I think it's decent. It's not pretty because it started losing like daily support, but it's not ugly either. What is your invalidation for your complacency thesis? And this is why I said like the secondary thing with like waiting for the confirmation on the complacency bounce down here is so valuable, is because the invalidation for the complacency bounce is really far up. And I mean, it's in the 55, 60K range. I'm probably going to flip bullish if we start breaking 50K, but I'm still going to be looking for complacency bounce like in the like next 2, 3, 4, 5K. I don't think we're going to double top. And then what I could see is something like this happen, but I don't think this is ever going to happen. If we go to 60K, I don't think we go straight back down to 20K if the traditional markets don't go to like nearly zero. Like, I don't think we go like there's any chance of like a double top or whatever. I think if we double top, it's going to be a pullback that you want to buy. Like, if it goes to 60K, you just buy the next pullback and pray to God that you're not buying the top. Sorry. So that's kind of my stance. Like, you're going to be invalidated on the complacency bounce thing. But like I said, you don't even have to act on the complacency bounce thing before 40K is lost. So there you go. My voice is starting to go out. Been too long of a day. So there you go. Thoughts on ADA. I talked about ADA earlier. There's just no setup there, but it's pretty strong. And like fundamentally wise, I don't like it, but that doesn't really matter. With regards to, is there anything else we could talk about? Anything interesting? Raven is actually a coin that I've been watching, and I tried to buy, didn't get to. It's at support right now. I'm gonna be probably buying this thing, even if it breaks the support. The next time I think altcoins are bullish. I have no idea why like Raven is behaving the way it is. But like whenever I see something like this, I try to get a position when I'm bullish altcoins. Right now, not bullish altcoins because I think Bitcoin is going to ruin the party no matter where it goes. But once that changes, Raven is going to be on top of my list. And I actually should make that. Pull it up. Because whenever you see this, and like whenever you see something like this, doesn't mean you have to buy like the support. But like, look at these bounces. Like I see those kind of bounces, right? And I'm interested. So I'll be looking at that more intently going forward. Raven is getting hash power from ETH miners. It's more profitable now. Yeah, I know that there's something happening, and I'm down to play it the next time I think altcoins are bullish. And then the fucking surprise of the week, Tezos actually went up today. Never moved. And then suddenly did. And sadly, there's nothing really on the Bitcoin pair. It's just choppy as fuck. Let's see if there's anything on the USD pair. And I mean, that's a pretty nice support resistance flip. But not that much either. That's just like, this just looks like a solid uptrend, which is hilarious because I mean fucking Tezos never moves, but now it is. Pretty nice. Tezos is gaining some NFT traction apparently. Yeah, I actually have some real life friends that are working on NFTs on Tezos. Might have to kind of support their project or something, buy some NFTs on their shit. I mean, I'm not biggest Tezos fan, but yeah. They have NFTs now? Yeah, I know. Like I said, some real life friends of mine are actually like quite heavily involved. When trading altcoins, which chart has more weight, Bitcoin or USD pair? That's a good question. What you try to do is you try to get both. Like you have like the USD pair here, and then you have the Bitcoin pair here, and you try to have both pointing in the same direction, right? With regards to whichever is more like important, the USD pair is more important on its own. If you're trying to make more USD, use the USD pair. the thing is, like most of the time when you're trading altcoins, you want to be outperforming Bitcoin, right? So that's my goal every time I trade an altcoin. The only reason why I bought XRP is because I thought it was gonna outperform Bitcoin, and it did, right? It did quite heavily. So for me, the Bitcoin pair is much more important because when that's bullish, I'm gonna be outperforming Bitcoin. So that's a good reason to buy altcoins in the first place. But generally speaking, if you're just looking at the market and you don't really care, the USD pair is the more important one. But if you're trying to outperform Bitcoin, which should always be your goal when you're trading altcoins, the Bitcoin pair is going to be more important. Obviously, if you trade altcoins that are traded against ETH, the Bitcoin chart is pretty much meaningless in terms of support resistance lines. You can still kind of judge the trend, but the support resistance stuff is going to be meaningless. So there's some nuance to it, but you want to be trading altcoins when the Bitcoin pairs look good, and you don't want to be trading altcoins when they don't. How's golf going? Slow, but I mean it's fun. It's fun. I'm just taking it easy. So yeah. I mean, that's pretty much it on that front, on that question side of things. Link just kind of looks shit. Fucking hell. I thought it would, like, in general, my altcoin thesis was basically altcoins would moon in 10 days time when I saw Dogecoin move up. And I can talk about this because, I mean, now it's in the past, doesn't really matter anymore. But I saw Dogecoin move up, right? And I was like, okay, I'm giving it 10 days from this move up for all the altcoins to put like a 2x, 3x, 4x in, while Bitcoin is kind of battling resistance. That was kind of my thesis that was going to happen. And then we got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days of upside on Dogecoin. And on the other ones, basically the same thing, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like roughly a week. And they didn't go nearly as much as I thought they would. And I think the reason for this, and the same with Link, like you had a bunch of days of upside, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then it nuked. And the reason for this, I think, is that liquidity kind of got drained out of the system by NFTs. Everyone was interested in the NFT space. No one kind of traded the altcoin charts. No one was really interested in buying them. So like the old season was kind of cut short. Which I hate to see, but I mean, it is what it is, right? A bunch of the NFT bros made a bunch of money, so I'm happy with that. But the old Ponzi's didn't do as well as I hoped. But the timing thing did really well, right? I mean, it was 7 days instead of 10. But I mean, that's not a big problem. So that was kind of my thesis. When you see Dogecoin and that kind of shit, especially Shiba, when you see Shiba and Dogecoin moon, right? You see this? The market's gonna take a shit relatively soon. So that should always give you like an indication of where the market is. Because when Dogecoin and Shiba moon, the retail kind of speculation is at or near its peak. And that's usually not good for the market. So that's kind of my thesis on it anyway. Hope that helps. Link, so disappointing this run? Yeah, I mean, it had its run last one, yeah. So, I mean, what happens, and this is something that no matter which altcoin you're trading right now, it's not going to be interesting in a year's time. Like, let's say you're trading AVAX right now, like Avalanche or whatever. There's a good chance it goes parabolic. And then if you sell at any point during that parabola and it goes higher, you're going to be really angry with yourself. But then the next run, when everything else goes, this is going to be like way weaker. It's just how this market works. It's basically a new thing comes out. It's exciting. People make money with it. People get kind of religious about it. And then it shows weakness, while everything else does the same. Like it's just like people running behind the new best thing, and it's always been how crypto works. Like you get a new coin, people run after it, It goes parabolic and then shits on everyone. And then the next new coin comes up. The bag holders from the previous one start selling to get into the next big thing. And that means like Link, for example, starts underperforming. And people chase the next cool thing. And then that gets replaced at some point again and again and again. And it just keeps on cycling through. Honeymoon period, yeah, kind of. Like you get these exciting times where it looks like the new future and then it's not. And then, yeah. And then it takes shit. And then the next coin comes along. Most altcoins never recover to Bitcoin. ATH, that is true. That is true. So yeah, there you go. I think that's plenty. I mean, it was super ranty episode, whatever. Hope it was still interesting. I mean, I can actually, and this is something I've been thinking about. If you give me like a minute or two, I've been thinking about kind of making this more structured. Do you guys want to keep it with like this kind of chat interaction kind of thing where I just answer questions, go through charts like on the side, talk about stuff I find interesting? Or do you guys want to just have me prepare something and I go through that and then like answer questions and do whatever? Because I can do either one. I'm pretty lazy though, so I don't know if I can kind of promise any like consistency on that front, but I can start like doing it from time to time, like prepare a topic, talk about it, and then see where it goes. Which one would you guys prefer? Because I mean, I don't really mind doing either. Thanks for the insight. No problem, man. Appreciate you coming by. I like the chat questioning, answering us is good, but some structure like what you're thinking would be cool. Yeah, I mean, I can do that. Would love if more technicals are shared. Okay. Don't check GRT, sorry bro, nah, not interested. We like it like this, okay. I'll just, I think what I'm gonna do is I'll do it maybe next week or something where I prepare something and then we just see how you guys like it. And you guys let me know and then we can just kind of figure it out. But yeah, I appreciate you guys coming by. Before we end the show, I want to thank today's sponsor again, which is FTX, formerly known as Blockfolio. You guys know the deal. Their links are in the description. They do all the cool stuff that they've always done, which is like portfolio tracking, mobile trading, that kind of stuff. I can only recommend it. It's pretty nice and they kind of support the show. So would be nice if you start supporting them, or I mean, you don't have to. It's just like they're pretty cool. So there you go. Appreciate you guys coming by. Always nice to kind of have so many like people in the chat talking and making it more enjoyable for me. So appreciate that. And we'll see each other probably on a live stream basis on Monday again, given that Friday is probably going to be a podcast, but I'm not entirely sure. We'll see. So yeah, thanks for coming by. See you guys next time. Bye-bye.